Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are inside the Black Fathers Foundation. And this is live. And if you just heard me stutter, there's no edits. This is real. We're coming to you live, the Black Founders Foundation. And we I already hear chuckles in the background. It's going to be real. You are in for a treat. This is Digital Dads. Uh, we want to make sure that we talk about what we're here for. We're going to talk about a journey. We're going to talk about some of the things these amazing fathers have done. Our panelists are going to introduce them in a few minutes here, but first I want to talk about what the Black Founders Foundation is and what it means to me. My first interaction with them was with a movie that Matt Pressberry, the co-founder, actually um, came up with, and the movie I believe was 1984. It was a movie with Hill Harper, and we had this amazing panel that came out where we're going to showcase and talk about this fantastic movie. And I started asking questions, and I started talking about what the Black Fathers Foundation was. And when I started talking to who the panel and introducing them, people started forgetting about the movie and realized that the resources they had in front of them, and it changed from, let me talk about this movie with Hill Harper, to I want to talk to these resources. I want to talk to that sister right there that is a therapist, that's a psychiatrist, psychologist. I want to talk to the brother that actually figured out how to get me past child support or get me so that I can actually see my child. The Black Fathers Foundation is a resource for our fathers, for our children, and for us. And that's that means to me. That's my testimonial. That is that they've created a niche, and it is helping. It is helping fathers like myself. It's helping older fathers, younger fathers. I look online in the group all the time and I just see nothing but love. So I want to say thank you very much to all the administrators in the Black Fathers Foundation. And Kelly, thank you so very much for starting this, creating this, running this, and keep it up. Okay. Now let's get to our show. First off, I want to actually introduce, let me see who was first. I already said it three times. Donte Palmer. In October 2018, 30-year-old Philadelphia native Donte Palmer posted a photograph in Instagram and unwittingly turned a routine moment of parental frustration into a global awareness campaign championing hands-on fatherhood. Now, I can honestly say I saw this picture. That was real. That was real. There's nothing about it. The now viral image of Dante squatting on the floor while changing his son's diaper without access to a change table in a men's restroom sparked an international discussion about evolving parenting dynamics and outdated caregiver expectations. With the support of his wife, three sons, Dante embraced his new role as advocate and founded Squat for Change, a nonprofit that with the mission to empower caregivers through education and inclusion. Dante has since partnered with Pampers to install 5,000 change tables across the United States and Canada through Scott for Change, provides community programming for hands on fathers. Dante lives in Jacksonville, Florida, with his wife, Lakeisha, and three sons Isaiah, 13, Taylor, 8, and Liam, 3. Hey, welcome aboard, Dante.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored. I think the biggest thing you just said in my introduction was I'm always a husband first, and then a father, and then an advocate. So I always have to say, my wife is the one who kind of like, without my wife, without her rock, her source, her power, I won't have the children to, do this global movement. So first and foremost, shout out to my wife, Lakeisha. Then my three amazing boys, Liam, Isaiah, and Taylor. Those are the ones who are, the face of Squad for Change. The ones that makes me allow me to be a father, especially a black father in our world today. So Squad for Change is just a bonus to my family. Squad for Change did not exist. I'll still be happy. I'll still be whole because I have a family here who supports me in anything I do. So thank you guys for having me on this platform. I'm just looking forward to getting to this conversation and just giving you guys my all and be transparent on the screen with you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Dante. Our next panel guest, James Lopez, father of three crazy boys, technology entrepreneur, helping dads live their best lives via Fatherhood is Lit initiative. His work has been featured in Good Morning America, Cameron Hall, New York One, USA Today, Black Enterprise, TechCrunch, Fast Company, and many, many more. Brother, you have a resume out there. You keep doing it, man. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, man. I've been blessed. I've been blessed. I'm able to do my thing in tech, and now I'm able to do my thing with my fathers. So it's been a good
Excellent.
thing. I always tell people, make your presence felt. That's what I'm doing.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Our next panelist, Jonathan Briggs. Jonathan Briggs is a 40-something father. I like the fact you threw that something in there. I'm 40-something as well. Husband and former journalist, Los Angeles Times, the Baltimore Sun, Chicago Tribune. He launched his blog, Fatherhood at 40, in 2017, a year after he was asked to speak at his college reunion. A classmate, inspired by his remarks, pulled him aside and said, "If you had a blog, I would read it." That's kind of powerful. Fatherhood at 40 chronicles his fatherhood journey from date nights and dad bod to perspectives on current events and raising a child with autism. I understand that dad bod thing, man. Seriously, man, oh man, I missed the gym. Jonathan and his family live in the burbs of Chicago, but every winter he dreams of returning to his home state of California. His favorite hashtag, Black Dad Magic. Love it. Hey, welcome aboard, Jonathan.
To be here. You hear my daughter in the background. That's the source of the Black Dad magic, along with my wife, who's in the background trying to get her out of the way for now. You gonna say hi to the people? Classic, classic. No, I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the invitation that came from Matt. The Fatherhood at 40 really is just my platform to talk about things that are on my mind and to share my journey. A lot of people don't know, but statistics show that there are more fathers who are first-time fathers at the age of 40 than there were in the 70s and 80s. So the face of fatherhood is getting older. And I think that's necessary. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think we have a lot more to share because we are hopefully wiser. So I'm happy to be here with you guys today.
Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate it. James Jones, our next panelist. James is an educator and attorney in Boston, Massachusetts. He's also the owner of Elevate Law, a startup focused law firm. In 2004, graduate of Boston College Law School, his practice areas include business and transactional law with a focus on the unique needs of startups. He has also served the needs of the community by mentoring Black owned startups in Boston's Smarter in the City incubator, assisting businesses with the Boston College Community Enterprise Clinic each summer, and serving on the board of directors for the BC Law Black Alumni Network, which is devoted to helping Black students at BC Law. Thanks, James. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, doing good. Thanks for having me on the panel. And also, I should probably add that I'm one of the moderators of the Facebook Black Fathers group, which is very unique, challenging, and very beneficial and rewarding at the same time. And as of just a few moments ago, I checked, and we're a few hundred members away from hitting 70,000.
Nice.
Oh, congratulations. Well done, brother. Well done. Well done. Our last panelist, DeAnthony Ward. DeAnthony is a millennial dad, husband, award-winning filmmaker, and the owner of a marketing and video company, Tony Captured Studios. DeAnthony has worked with brands and small businesses to create professional, marketable, and most of all, relatable content. After hearing countless stereotypes of millennial teens and young adults, DeAnthony began sharing his own experiences as a millennial father and husband on the Dad Vlog IG page. Using his platform to normalize family interactions and shine a positive light on the family and fatherhood, he has written, directed, and independently produced thought provoking roundtables and podcasts with other fathers and husbands to further normalize these titles. DeAnthony continues to captivate audiences through narrative focus on the dynamic father with diverse perspectives. Thanks again, DeAnthony, for being here, brother.
Hey, my man, I appreciate you. Thank you very much, man. I think it's awesome. I like to call the dad vlog like the first person view of fatherhood because it's not much of my face in there, but it's a lot of dealings that go on around the house. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me here.
Excellent, excellent. I want to get it started, all right, because we're already into it. We had a lot of introductions, but one of the first questions I want to ask is, and I want to make sure I put this the right way. How much do you guys think social media has changed the look of Black fathers? And I'm going to start off with Johnathan first.
I think it's a great question. I think social media allows us to, it's put the power of telling our story in our own hands. And so we're no longer beholden to mainstream media telling of our stories. We can do it ourselves. So anybody who has access, has an internet connection, has a smartphone, and has, some creativity can tell their story. And I think there's power, in telling your story. I know Michelle Obama, her whole book, Becoming, her whole thing is promoting the idea that your story matters, your story has power. And I think we need to hear the voices of people sharing their lived experience. So I think it's changing the face of Black fatherhood tremendously.
Excellent. James Lopez.
Oh, it's like he's just said, it's changed it tremendously. Like now we could actually show people that not only are we present, but we actually love it, right? And we also get to show that it's not soft to be a father. Like it's okay to be loving to your kids. Like now we can put it online and showcase it to the world without anybody actually coming at you, right? Like before, people would hide these things because it wasn't the norm. Now we're making it the norm, and that's pretty cool.
I actually, before we go, because you said something real interesting there about being present, showing that we are present, and I know
Uh-oh.
but I didn't even say the words "I love you" until my granddaughters or his granddaughters came along.
Mm.
So that's when I heard him say, "Granddad loves you." And I'm looking at it, hey man, I never got one of those. So what you just said is profound about changing the look on how people feel and talk about being present with their kids and what they can say.
Yep, it is, man. It is. I had that with my father. My
Excellent.
father was a very tough guy. Growing up, all his friends saw him as like a tough protector. He would not let me leave that house without me telling him I loved him and him telling me that he loved me.
Oh, dope.
So that was pretty big,
Yeah,
especially
that's
where I
dope.
came from.
That's what's up.
That's dope.
James Jones.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo what other people have already said, I mean, it's been pretty much nothing but positive because even though the statistics have always shown that Black fathers are so heavily involved in their children's lives, the stereotype has always persisted
Absolutely.
of the absentee deadbeat dad. And now with social media, with with Instagram and images and video and groups, we're able to show the world like, no, it's not a few people who have have a website or have a place of showing pictures or images or like putting posts up on Twitter or something. It's like, no, this is a whole movement. We're all out here. We've always been out here. And now we want you to all know that the things that you were told were never true to begin with. And that message really, I think, is starting to come across.
Excellent. Excellent. DeAnthony.
Yeah, I think social media is awesome because first off, a lot of things on social media are fake, but I feel like there's one thing on social media that's not fake, and it's fatherhood stuff. And the reason why is if you post something about your kid on there and you're not a good father, you're going to get shamed into taking that picture down by your kid's mother or by the people who know you the best and say, hey, that was just a picture that you just put up just for the heck of it. You're not even around. But then you have people like, us and the majority of people, I guess, that put stuff on the internet and they praise us and they say, oh, that's good. So it's kind of trendy, right? It's kind of fun. So it's a thing that's very honest to do. And you just want to add to the library of adding to the whole fatherhood community, right? And that's what the whole social media thing is for me. So social media kind of it allows you to just put a lot of makes it very valid for you to do things like that. So I think that's awesome.
Excellent. We mentioned something about shaming, and
Yeah.
and and I know that enhance on that a little bit for me.
Well, because and I know this just from me, because early on when I was doing the dad vlog, I would post pictures of other people too, just not like of myself. And I would get somebody that would message me and they would be like, oh, you post that picture of him and he's not even around. And now I'm looking at it like, well, I don't know that. So now those people are talking and they're like, well, you need to take that picture down or you need to take that video down because he's not necessarily around. And they're getting shamed into taking that stuff down. So the people that are putting stuff up and then you get the comments and the mothers commenting and say, yeah, he's an awesome dad. You have that support system. So you have people like us adding to this library of social media, the image of Black dads on social media, which I think is awesome.
Wow, thank you for that, Donte. Not last but not least, obviously, but I definitely want to hear your perspective.
Yeah, well, I'm only here because of social media. I never, first of all, I never knew there was a fatherhood like groups on Facebook until it came this Squat for Change sensation. But we have to take it a step deeper. It doesn't change. I mean, it does change the dynamics what a Black father and a Black son or Black daughter look like, but it also changes the narrative of what it means to just be a Black man. I mean, I have interviews across the world, from India to Mexico, here to the States and Canada, and especially my interview with India, they don't view Black men as the caretakers. They just don't. I had an interview with them twice, and they never thought that Black fathers we were present. And I talked about me and my wife had a lot of conversations, because if I hear me speaking in a speaking arena and I'm getting off the stage, and our white counterparts come up to me and say, wow, you speak so well. You know what I mean? What does that mean? You never thought a guy with tattoos who's 33 years old and has a beard and comes from the urban city of Philadelphia can speak? We can speak, and we are active in our children's lives. But just having million upon million upon million of views, and just the comments under it, about time there's a Black dad taking care of his children. He's probably hiding drugs in a baby diaper. I'm challenging these questions. You say it, I'm gonna challenge you. And I just think with social media, it's dangerous in a sense, but it also elevates us as minority dads to show the world that we are present, we are different, we can speak, and we don't take no. I don't think I can say this. We can take no BS when you come challenge us, because we can bark back as well. But we are fathers first. So appreciate us as fathers first. But if you bark, we can bark louder. And I don't want to get to the barking, because I want to be a great example for my kids.
My kids are watching.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they got to see you bark too.
Absolutely.
Hey, sometimes you got to bark.
Right.
And Donte, I want to come back to you, because internationally, you're talking about Black men are viewed as not being there. Not just across the United States. Tell me more about that, or how you experienced that, or
even
deep into that.
I'm sitting here thinking about, I had an interview with I think it was Japan, and they said, wow, we didn't know you guys exist as fathers. And this is one of those things where I have to, and my thing is so draining, because my thing is, why do I have to keep teaching? We all have access to Google. You can type up, you can find a movie and see that Black dads do exist. But I just think some people just don't want to put the effort out, or they live in their own bubble and don't want to venture out to learn other cultures and races. You know what I mean?
I wonder why they think that they don't. Yeah. That's what I want.
I don't. That's the thing. I don't understand. I don't get it. But I'm just happy that all of us had this platform where we could show, being a dad in 40, being a dad from New York who don't take no. See, James is one of the realest dads I met in my life. You know what I mean? And we just all come together and show you, 6 or 7 different types of what being a Black dad is. But the question is, I can't even answer. Why do they think that way? I can't answer that. But it's my job to keep, when they ask the question, just keep pushing out and give them a correct answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want to reach out to the panel, because what do you think stereotypically is shown, whether it be movies, TV, because this is the things that are going internationally. So I want to know, because everything I watch is a positive look when it comes to a Black man and being a father. So I want to know what they are seeing that will, hey, I didn't know you guys existed. So you mean every Black guy out here that's a father doesn't take care of his kids, or So I want to ask the panel that. What do you think that's coming from?
Well, I think we have to put it in perspective of history. Absolutely. So, social media hasn't been around that long. We take it for granted, right? But, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, they haven't been around that long. That's probably, 10, 15 years at most, countering 400 years of stereotypes of being savages, beasts, deadbeats, prison thugs, you name it. And so I think, there was a book that was written called Brainwashed by Tom Burrell, who was one of the founders of the Burrell advertising agency. It was the first Black-owned advertising agency in the country. And he came out with a book a few years back called Brainwashed. And he said that the marketing of Black inferiority was the greatest mass marketing campaign in the world. And so that's what we're up against. When you think about 10 to 15 years of social media, us sharing our personal stories and archives, right? That we're sharing from our personal lives, that's a sliver compared to centuries of misrepresentation. So it's not going to happen overnight. And, to Donte's earlier point, I do think it goes back to the images of Black men. You cannot imagine a Black man as a father if you do not see him as a man at all.
Absolutely.
Wow. Anyone else want to comment on that? Because that was pretty good.
I guess real quick. I mean, I think it also comes with the media as well. Just what we've seen on TV was being betrayed. I'm sitting here thinking now, I don't think I can honestly say too many Black films or maybe like Black TV shows that I can sit down with my family and watch. The one thing that popped in my head, and it's crazy, it's a cartoon, it's Motown on Netflix. And that's the extent of what we get on TV. You give us a cartoon and say, this is how you look. So either we're a cartoon or we like the Marlon show and we portray it as like a comedian family. We're comedy. So either we're a cartoon or we're funny. I can't think of any shows right now that are like the Cosby Show. And I know we can't say the name too much these days, but I don't see any like Black strong like shows that portrays us in a good light, and I just can't figure it out. And if there is, I would love to know it, but I think that's the problem. I just can't think of it, or collectively we can't think of us together. So
you know what? I think that it goes to show how like high our highs are and how low our lows are, and let you know just kind of how strong and how much attention that we have, right? Because I don't know, just like all of you, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know guys that don't hang out with their kids. I don't know guys that aren't around their kids, but the small group that are, I mean, that presence is so dominating that when it happens, it causes that kind of attention, right? When we kind of walk into the room for places, we get that kind of attention. So why are we magnified like that? I don't know. Maybe it's just because of our presence, because the same thing happens in the reverse, right? You have a strong Black guy, and if he walks into a room, he captivates the whole room. Why? Because he's a big Black guy, and his aura is that. So it's the same thing on the reverse to me. It's just that our highs are really high, our lows are lows. Even if it's a small percentage, that's just what gets highlighted, and that's the thing that gets amplified. So if we can actually harness that, switch it up, go to the other side, and continue to do what we're doing like on social media and change that whole stereotype. Now our highs are more high, and we're fizzling out that whole the Black dads aren't around thing, because it's a myth, it's not real, and we're showing that. We're just using all the tools around us now to show why all of that isn't real. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. And another factor is what we teach, right? Where it's like where I grew up at, my dad was always there for me, but my friends didn't have a father, right? So now it was up to me to show my friends why we needed to be dads, why we needed to step up and keep that going, right? So it starts at home too, where now we have to tell kids, it's okay for you to be a father, and there's no real blueprint to this or image to it. Like you might be home taking care of your kids 24/7, or you might be working, right? But we're still present. So it starts off with the parents also saying, hey, it's okay for you to be a dad. Like when I quit my job, the first thing my father told me was, I knew you were going to do that because you want to spend time with your kids. I thought he was going to come at me like, yo, what are you doing? That's not what a man does. And instead he told me, yo, you need some help because I got you for a year. Stay home with your family. You know what I mean? Like enjoy your family. And it was like, all right, cool. And we're not well off. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we had to make sacrifices to make that happen. But my dad gave me
that comment too.
Yeah, about Blackish.
Yeah, I've seen it. I mean, I'm actually featured on Blackish, so they showed my picture on Blackish. But the thing is, I still wasn't happy with the project. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't show me as an everyday man. We not rich. We don't have Lamborghinis and no Corvettes outside. I don't have that. So in that moment, it still didn't seem realistic. It was still trying to please Hollywood. If that makes sense. Yeah. That's not my life. And so I just didn't. I'm sorry, I'm featuring him, but I don't like the show. I just don't.
So
Look, I was going to
real.
say
That's
something,
real.
but I was like, I'm getting the vibe.
Yeah,
I'm
I
getting
don't
the
like it.
vibe.
I
I'm
can't be
going to ask
around.
that question.
I can't be around Donte anymore, man. He's gonna make me
Yeah.
start matching outfits. I can't do this.
Yeah,
You don't like blackish?
I don't like black kids.
well, then I guess we got what's the you got Insecure, you know, maybe that's more your fancy.
Yeah.
Look, my wife got me into Insecure. She got me hooked, man. Don't talk about Insecure. I'm like, what you gonna do next? You know? All right, let me switch it up here for you guys. So, another question for you. How has your social media presence changed your home life?
Oh Lord.
Oh man. Oh,
Let me
take that.
let me start off with Anthony on that one. Oh yeah, who say? Let me take it. Who wants?
Oh,
Yeah,
I was gonna take that. I'll take that, James.
yeah, go ahead, James.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll take it
Run with
because
it, James.
I'll take it because you know, growing up in the South Bronx, like my dad was my protector, and he would never let me go. With social media, I kind of opened up that world where now you know who my child is, and I can't always be there to protect them. And to me, that's kind of scary. So what it's done for me is that it's made me be more mindful and worry about what I put out there. Like, you know, do I show my building? Do I show the car? Do I show where he goes to school? Things like that, because I'm honestly fearful of those things. Like I do shows like Tamron Hall and Good Morning America, and my friends will tell you I hate it. I hate doing those things. And I hate doing it because I can't protect my kids. I'm not with them 24/7. So what if somebody wants to get at me through my kids? Now they have access. So social media kind of makes me a little bit more worried about my parenting and teaching them the right values and how to stay safe.
Man, that's interesting.
Wow.
Mine's just from a different point of view. Even though I feel that, like, you know, I'm super new parent, and when I say super new, I mean I had nieces and nephews, but I never changed the diaper until my kid was here. Never knew where to buy diapers from. No wipes, nothing like that. So as Rachel and I, my wife, as new parents, we don't necessarily know what we're doing, especially early on. So when I would document something that Taj, my son, is doing, and I put it on social media, like, oh, people are probably gonna think this is really stupid that I just did this. And people are like, oh, I thought it was like that too. And they're like, oh, I thought it was like that too. And then there's just this sense of comfort that you get in normacy, right? Knowing that you're doing something the same as other people. And there's more seasoned people that may be like, oh no, this goes on the other side of the nipple goes on the other side of the bottle. It doesn't go on this side of the bottle. So from a standpoint of normalizing things, I think that it's helped us out in that way, because some things we just don't know, and we don't know if we're doing it right or wrong, or we don't have a bunch of data points to collect it with. I mean, we can ask our parents, but they had kids 30 years ago, and their perspectives are completely different. But when I post something and then Donte comments, no, bro, you're supposed to put milk in the bottle. That's enlightening to me. I'm like, okay, I got it. I understand. So that's what I mean. It's for the good in that sense. But I feel what James is saying too, because I make sure that I don't put any incriminating things in too. I put up one picture of Tosh was just in the refrigerator, and I just thought it was an interesting picture. And then people are commenting like, all the stuff is in the refrigerator that's empty. And I'm like, damn it, I should have cleaned out the refrigerator beforehand.
Should have blurred the background or something, huh? You know, just like.
But that's real life, though. That's real life. It's not staged, right? So.
Yeah.
It is.
Social media.
Anyone else have a comment?
Social media has made me a lot more careful about what I say and put out there in the world. Almost like, like politicians and athletes and whoever else, where, when they make it, everyone scrubs through their old social media and they find all the dirt. It's like, I'm not famous or anything, but, I have older kids also in addition to the younger kids. And so like social media, like, Facebook and MySpace back in the time, like that was the thing as my two older girls were becoming teenagers. And, when I started getting on and started doing things, it made me realize that, wait a second, I can't just say and do anything because they may see it. And then it morphed into really thinking about me just on a deeper level of, what are the kinds of things that I believe? What are the kind of things that I want to put out there in the world? What do I want to say and be held accountable for? And if I have things that I'm unwilling to say publicly, how do I feel about that? So it really made me become more introspective and think about, why do I believe certain things? If I'm not willing to say this because I'm afraid my kids might see or hear it, does that mean that that's something I should be saying? Is that something I should be thinking? And I have to really, I find myself still analyzing my own thought process and my own belief system when I hesitate about putting something out there. It's like, well, if I'm thinking in my head, but I don't want to say it because my kids might see it one day, is that something I should even be thinking in the first place? Should I be believing that in the first place?
Yeah,
That's what I call self-awareness. So thank you for that. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think that's a really interesting point, because I know for me, the privacy of my daughter is important, because I write about her being diagnosed with autism, our journey as in what they call an awesome family. And, I don't want to put things out that might come back later when she's older and she can read the blog that she might feel embarrassed about. So I'm always trying to maintain a certain sensitivity about what we disclose about her and how she's developing. I refer to her on my blog as my dear daughter. I don't use her first name. And I think the other thing for me is that, for me personally, it hasn't changed, because I was a journalist for a decade before I started, with the blogging. So people kind of knew who I was in terms of my, working for different newspapers like the LA Times and the Chicago Tribune and all that. I feel what you're saying, though, about, sharing what you really think. I just wrote a piece about the death of George Floyd, and really had to figure out how direct I was going to be, because I know my coworkers read my blog. And, I think it was important to really distill the ideas down so that it could be received and heard. But I didn't pull any punches. I called it a lynching because that's what I thought it was. And I really talked about the dehumanization of Black men in particular, but Black people. And I think it's important for us to showcase our thoughts in a way that is debatable, but still receivable.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Anyone else want to comment on that?
I think social media or all of this also lets you teach your kids, where now they can see dad doing it. Where it's like, for me, it's all about the business and the legacy. So, I tell my son all the time, if I'm on Instagram talking and sometimes embarrassing myself, hey, you could do the same and people will still love you. So so it's actually pretty cool.
I was thinking
Hey,
about.
James.
I was thinking. Oh, sorry.
No, you good. You good.
I was thinking about when you were just saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to say anything that's kind of damaging," and I used to think that a lot. Like I don't want to do something that compromises him in X amount of time. But I think that if I'm kind of documenting my life, and I'm documenting it not for just everybody, I'm documenting it for him, for his kids, for his siblings, and for everybody that's around. I think it's okay if there are some things that I would take back. It's just, why would I take them back? Like, would I take them back because I don't necessarily believe in them anymore? Or do you take them back because it's not a true thing? Because we evolve, right? So
Right.
I'm sure I had stuff on my Facebook from 2006 that I don't necessarily believe right now. Is it worth going back and deleting that stuff? Maybe not, because I heard Jay-Z say something like on one of his albums, like, this is exactly what I was feeling, how I was feeling at the time when I made this song. So this is it, right, wrong, or indifferent. This is just a snapshot in time. Now, if we get to be, if it's 5, 6, 7 years down the line, and there's somebody that's scrolling, what they're going to be able to see is they're going to be able to see the evolution of my growth, our family's growth, and see how we got from point A to point B. So if there's something that somebody wants to judge you on from 2007, they're going to have, it's their responsibility to do the research and also see what you thought in 2009 and 2010, and see how objective that evidence is before they go back and judge you based off of something that you said.
Yep.
Makes sense?
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. And James from Fatherhood is lit. I'll be the first to say I'll never forget. My wife and I were looking for a daycare for our daughter, and this is before my second daughter came along. And we walked into this daycare, and she looked over and said, "Oh, that's so and so." I can't remember the young lady's name or little girl's name. I think that's Casey. And I'm looking and saying, "How do you know Casey?" "Oh, that's my friend's daughter." I said, "Have you met her before?" "No, I just seen her on social media."
Mm.
That immediately scared me and was like I never really put their names out there. Every now and then I'll throw a picture up, but to this day I really don't just shower social media with my images just because I'm I'm a hover dad. I'm overprotective, so they're always going to be under my wing, and I'm
Mhm.
going to kind of keep them clean. Everything. So I completely everyone understand everyone's perspective and also the growth factor because I remember when I first started getting into this world, I had to think about it's live and whatever I say, it's out there.
Out
So
there.
at any given time, someone can
Absolutely.
come back and say, "Hey, you said this X amount of time ago." So, and we're seeing that now in social media or in our world because I think it was Jim Fallon got caught out with some stuff not too long
Yeah,
ago, and then
Yeah.
Jamie
blackface.
Foxx had to rush to his, and yeah, that was blackface. There's no doubt about that, but
Yeah.
somehow he got a little pass on that back then. I don't know how that happened because I don't remember that happening to be honest. But
But
I'd be like, hey, hold up.
you know,
Um, go ahead.
I was going to say, D'Anthony, your point though about being authentic and it being an evolution. I know at the last Dad 2.0 summit, the gathering of all the dad bloggers and marketers, Belief in Fatherhood was there, and I was talking to him about his approach to his blog, and he said that he wanted to have this cinematic approach to really kind of show behind the scenes and the full story of his life as a father, and
Mhm.
that involves obviously being a Black father. And I think that's true. He didn't want it to be cleansed and sort of super scrubbed and
Right.
hygienic and polished. It's just pretty much authentic and raw, and documenting his fears and concerns, his highs and lows. And I think that level of authenticity is really key to social media when it's done well. And I think that does help us tell a more nuanced story,
Yeah.
because what people see now is just you know two-dimensional. But what he was saying was, I wanted to be in 3D.
Yeah, and only the real ones are really going to benefit from it, because those are the ones that are going to follow what's going on, and those are the ones that are going to dissect everything that happened in 2010 and compare it to 2012 and 2013, and the things that they're going to benefit from that are going to be greater than somebody that's looking at something on the surface, like, oh, they think that they're happy all the time because they watched one
Right.
video, right? Or, oh, they shouldn't have did that with the kid. That kid is going to grow up and be a spoiled brat because they saw that he whined for a piece of candy one time. Those people aren't going to, they're not going to benefit from it. The people that are going to benefit from the way that we document our kids and our lives are going to be the people that are in it for the long run, that can go back for and look at the data points that are very data driven and say something changed from here to last year, something changed from here to there, and then over time, that's when you get that value. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I got to shift it a little bit because now and we got some surface stuff now. Now we got to go deep now
Mm.
because I want
Oh
to know
man.
how. Yeah, here we go. Buckle up. Here we go. Yeah, I see everybody getting ready in the seats. So we're in a different world right now, and we Black Lives Matter, COVID, everything's going on at the same time. And I asked you, how do you think social media has changed your home life? Now I want to know, how has social media changed your home life with COVID? Like, are you still able to give your same 150% you were doing toward your social media presence now that the kids are home all the time, especially if you're not homeschooling? Because I know that for me, that was a break. When I sent them to school, that was a break. Now I had homeschooling. Now we had, again, home work. So who wants to go with that one first? I see some folks looking and smiling, got the hand. Who wants to go? Donte, let's go with you first. How's
Hey
it changed?
man, life has changed. It's changed. My whole campaign is getting to these restaurants, getting to these establishments, and advocate for changing tables. But with the whole world shut down, it's not much for me to do. Even with like my partner's Pampers, they just didn't have any work because they were all kind of like minimizing work because nothing was really open. But there's always a silver lining because my thing is even just being a black man in America today, my and that may be a different topic, but my fear was always my boys leaving or me going to work not knowing where my boys were, and not like I think James said earlier, not being a protection, and I mean, and not being there for them. But now that since COVID happened and everything is happening with the the social injustice, my boys, my wife they are one household, so that's kind of like decrease my anxiety because I know exactly where they are, I know exactly who they're talking to, and Dad is here to protect them. So I think it's kind of like both and for me as far as the negatives and the positives, but I kind of lean towards the positives. I look at the silver lining through anything. So I know Squad for Change has taken a slight decline, but it doesn't change the fact that my family is increasing in our love. So that's where we are now with that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. D'Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, I think for vloggers like me, it's good because I work I work a 9 to 5 as well. But for vloggers like me, it's good because now I can film something, at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning now, when before you didn't know what we looked like at 9 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because Tosh was at daycare and, Rachel and I were at work. But now you see what we look like at 8 a.m. You see what we look like at 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock versus, seeing what we look like from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next day. Right. So now you have more, and we're a very data-driven world. Now you have more data on our life, right? And if there's things that you want to incorporate, this is how we do things at 8 o'clock. It's how we do things at 12 o'clock. So it wasn't bad, but I will say it was an incredible adjustment going from having ties, from 6 o'clock on to having them all day long and having to be a lot more responsible with, okay, wow, now we need to keep him entertained for how many hours today? All day.
12, 14 hours. No.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's
20
a lot.
hours.
Only 2 hours went past. Wow, we just colored for only 2 minutes. so it added that in, but at the same time, honestly, like I really appreciate it, and I don't even know if I can go back, honestly, because we spend so much time together. I'm desensitized now. Like we wake up, know what to do. We hang out, and honestly, I have a ball with it. It was a little tough in the mornings because it's like, okay, you get a ball of energy at 2 years old, but now it's just normal. I can't really see myself going back, and it's very, very, very fun for me. Very fun.
James, what about you, buddy?
In regards to social media, I use it less more. I mean, I use it less now than ever. I'm more purposeful, right? So, I look at a lot of the dad groups. I say it all the time. No shade to the dad groups out there. A lot of the stuff is staged, and they have content, like they create content at all times. For me, I'm more of the street guy. Like I like hitting up events. I like creating events. I like working with brands to throw events. Because of COVID, now I'm home. I can't really do that many events, but I also don't want to go on social media and see things that people are putting out there that I know they don't really do on any given day. So it's making it more purposeful, where now I don't scroll through the timeline for enjoyment. I scroll through the timeline to find things that I really want to see or to put out content that I really care about. It's not just for like shits and giggles anymore. I don't wake up just to look at it anymore, because there's just too much stuff on there that'll distract you, and just can't do it. So I love social media. I'm a tech guy. I don't touch it, man. I told you guys earlier, I escaped to email just because I don't want to deal with that influx of DMs and messages. Yeah.
So you don't find yourself, James, you don't find yourself doing more, the videoing more, filming more, and talking more on camera now than before?
No, because remember, ever since the beginning, like I've never came into this game to become an influencer. So I don't create video content. I don't create photos. What I do is I create live events, or I create written content. That stuff, by me going on social media, is actually a distraction, because now I see the next guy making $2,000-$3,000 selling T-shirts while I'm out here trying to hit up a shelter to help dads that are in need. You know what I mean? Yeah. So instead of that, I just stay away from it, and that's as real as it get. Like if I use social media, it's to look at sneakers, man. Look at that's it. It's too much fluff, man. Too much fluff. I got a business to run.
All right, the other James. Let me hear from the other James.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit different, I guess, in my situation because unlike the other guys, like I don't have my own personal blog or IG following, anything like that. But I can say that there's been a huge uptick in the content submitted to the Black Fathers group over the past several months. After the first couple of weeks, it really spiked. Where people were kind of getting used to getting into the flow of being at home and what does that look like? And then, it starts to become a really good thing because you can see almost in real time as guys who were already involved with their kids, but now that they're home all day, kind of like what you were saying before, where it's not like from 6 p.m. until bedtime. Now it's all day long. And so many guys, learning things about their kids, learning things about their spouse, about their parenting styles, about how to work together with things, and things that they didn't know about their kids, and getting into their kids' interests, about the cartoons they watch and the video games they play. And it's been really great to see over the past few months how a group of already very involved fathers found another level to get to. And, we can see it as it scrolls through the group as the posts come in of people sharing their funny stories, or sometimes their sad stories, their learning experiences, the pictures and videos. So, we've been able to see that progression over the last few months of just increased involvement when it was already, you thought it was at 100, and then they take it to 100, 110.
Right. Yeah, James, it's funny you said that too. I'll be the first to admit, and I have a couple of buddies that are like, man, family's driving me crazy. I can actually look back and say, hey, I actually like my wife. And I like my kids.
You don't say. I actually love you. I love you.
You all right.
Actually love you.
I wasn't so sure at first, but you're growing on me.
Thanks, COVID. Thank you.
COVID cares.
You got one. Who did I didn't hear from? Johnathan, let me hear from you, man. How's it changed in your life?
So here's the thing. So my wife is actually a bankruptcy attorney. So her work is considered an essential service. So we were fortunate. We actually had access to our daycare. We've had it for most of the I would say late February to March. But then there was a COVID outbreak at the daycare. So daycare was closed for 14 days to allow the quarantine period and the deep cleaning of the center and all that stuff. Now, keep in mind, the daycare is limited to essential workers. So these are the healthcare workers, the delivery people, the grocery people. The regular families that use the center are not allowed to use it unless they are deemed essential by the state of Illinois. So what's happened in my case is that I'm able to produce more content because I started what's called the COVID Chronicles, because I started writing about, at first, the inequality, how COVID was really revealing social disparities. And I started, really, since I majored in Black studies, I started, just giving my opinion about the state of Black America. Then I started writing about what should I tell my daughter about COVID. She's not even 6 years old. So do I tell her? Do I not tell her? And that was a debate. You don't want to spread anxiety to your kids before they're emotionally ready. So we figured we would just model the behavior, washing your hands and all of that stuff. Then COVID came to the daycare. So then I was writing about, to quote one of my favorite comedians, David Arnold, parenting full-time and working, with your kids at home. It ain't for the weak. Like it was, it was, man, those 2 weeks, the energy, the demand. How many snacks did you go through? I mean, we went through like 5 cans of Pringles and popcorn and juice. I'm like, this is just, man.
All the
But
good foods.
at the same time, my daughter, our kids are they're only going to be that age for that split moment in time. So, and she just started kindergarten back in August. So to really see her, everything she's learned at kindergarten, and to work on assignments, the e-learning assignments with her at home. And for a little bit, she was having her autism therapy at sessions at our house, which we normally do, but things got disrupted because of COVID. So I was able to really see her development, and she was using new words and phrases and things I hadn't heard before that she used it with her friends. It was just really nice to really be present with her when I'm normally at work. So, I've actually been writing more. I have a traditional blog. I write essays. People tend to read my blog because of the heartfelt kind of slightly academic, but not quite kind of insight, and it's been, from that perspective, it's been great. I feel like I'm prouder of the work that I produced during this time because the world has changed. And I feel like we have a platform, we can actually say something that needs to be said. And I'm mainly doing it for my daughter and for myself. I want to document this time. I really see my website as something that she'll be able to look back on as like a living memoir or diary. And she can really understand what daddy was thinking and experiencing during this time in her life.
Thanks, Johnathan. You are doing a great job of setting me up, man. Because that's just a lob where I want to go next. I mean, you just laid. I'm about to come in for the dunk right here.
All right, go for it.
Look, you brought it up. The world is changing. The Black Lives Matter movement is ignited. I want to know from your perspective, you gentlemen that are in the social media world, digital dads, did COVID, being at home, not being able to just go out and do something else, help with this movement, with
What?
the murder of Floyd?
Yes.
I want. What do you see? I mean, do you see I had my own opinions where it was like people are just trapped and they can only see these images, and all of a sudden they're mad. I've been in a house for 2 months and this is going on and this is just crazy, and it was an eruption. I want to hear from you guys. How do you think social media and COVID? Do you think that helped ignite the Black Lives Matter movement?
Oh, I think so for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
Just because. Okay, first off, it let me know how much things are really a distraction, right? Mr. George Floyd. I mean that happened now, but there's things that happened just as messed up a couple months ago,
Just as tragic.
and a year ago, and 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, and it's a coincidence. I don't even know if it was a coincidence. It was a realization that all right, you shut down all the sports, shut down all the concerts, right?
Yep.
You take away literally everything that you have, and now you're streamlined to focus on issues like this that come up. Now, that could be the world being very strategic and shutting everything down and highlighting the things that we need to look at. You could look at it that way, but that's exactly what's going on, and everything that happened with Drew Brees and how his comments that he made are just it was just so crazy that he made those comments. And I don't think that he's a bad guy or anything, but it just goes to show you that he has no clue what's going on. It's like, dude, where have you been? How can you say that being an educated dude like you are with all of this power? Yeah. And it's because he ain't in the same world that you and I are in. That's right. And it took us, it took the whole world shutting down and everybody looking right at Drew Brees and saying, Drew, that was messed up that you said that. Do you not know that this kind of stuff happens all the time while you're talking about your grandfathers and things that's been in World War II and how we couldn't even fight, or when we were fighting for people like you and we still came home to, being enslaved and came back to segregation. So the things that you're talking about is just so, it's true, but you are just missing the mark when it comes to people like us. So this whole thing, even though, there's been a lot of issues that's going on with COVID and things, but the silver lining is that it's opened up the eyes of people, and we're getting now exactly what we've been wanting for the last few years, right? We're getting people saying, wow, that was really messed up. The police do those kind of things. There's an injustice. And this is exactly what we wanted years and years ago. So this is the manifestation of everything that we've been fighting for a lot of times, in my opinion, and everything that we want, everything that we wanted, everything that we've been fighting for.
Yeah, he's right.
Donte, let me hear from you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, actually, I love this conversation, but it also angers me for many reasons. I live in St. Johns County, predominantly white neighborhood. I'm probably like one of 4 black families in this small gated community, and it just happened last week. And like D'Anthony said, like everything is cut down, so you have to focus on it. The social injustice is going on at hand right now. So last weekend I was invited to a graduation party. Good friend of ours went around the corner from my house. So I went over there and we were talking, and the issue of George Floyd came up. And I think a lot of my white counterparts are used to black men and women that are just kind of passive aggressive. And he said some things that I didn't agree with at all. So we kind of hashed it out outside. So we were outside talking, and one of the guys mentioned, this guy, I'm not gonna say his name. He's crazy. He has a 22 on him, white guy, and when he said that, another white guy said that. So I kind of, everybody just be quiet for 1 second. Now let's think about it. If I came out here and said I had a 22 on my hip, and I'm crazy and I'm ready to fight, the cops will have been called on me. I've been arrested, and that's the case closed. And we had these dialogues, and I don't know if you guys have seen that I, created and produced a poem called Hashtag, and it was a letter to my 3 boys about the things you can and cannot do to keep your life. And that was the root of the whole conversation that came up. They were so angry and so disappointed that their black friend Donte will post a hashtag video up, and it's bullshit, right? And I had to tell them, this is my life. This is my story. We live in a gated community, and they just can't understand that realization. And I gave them my another scenario. They have my son Isaiah. He's 14. Well, he'll be 14 soon. He has a lot of friends right here. They're his white counterparts. And our next door neighbor, I love a family that does. Her name is Abby, same age, and they jog together. And I told Isaiah, and one day I told him they could go exercise, and he ran out the gate, ran a mile down, came back. And when he came back, I felt so uneasy because I put my son in danger. And no one understood that. My wife said, what's wrong with you? I put my son in danger. And think about it. My son, I don't care how hot it is. He wears a hoodie and he jogs with his headphones in. And this girl, Abby, she's a livid runner. She will outdust my son any day. And I just seen the image in my head of Abby running, Isaiah behind her, and they are running together. All you see is a black boy chasing a white girl down the street, right? But when I told my neighbors that, they couldn't understand that. They said this, this BS, you making it about race. It's not about race when I put my, it's our life. So it's like, I have to, and I said this other day, COVID-19 has put me in a bad position. And I don't know if you guys viewed it this way. When I walk into a grocery store or a gas station, I take my mask off. People ask me why. Because just 6 months ago, it wasn't socially acceptable for any black man to walk in with a mask on. Now it's okay for me to walk in with a mask on, a hoodie on, because y'all trying to protect me from a disease that you guys may have, right? So when me and my sons walk in the gas station or the grocery store, we take our mask off. And it's sad. People say, you doing too much. Yes, it's going to be that one person who sees me walking in 12 o'clock at night to get gas with a mask on and think I'm robbing them, and I get shot. So I have to live my life slow. Have to think about every single action. Ahmaud Arbery, they say he took a shortcut through this house. I tell my son, you can't take shortcuts. If it takes you another 30 minutes to get home, guess what? You take the 30 minutes, and I'm getting so angry and so mad right now because these are the conversations I have with my boys every single day. And my white counterparts, my neighbors, don't understand that. He said, why do you give your son so many rules? I'm sorry, but your daughter don't have to live a life like my 3 boys. They don't have to. And do I tell my boys to walk a fair? Hell no. Walk, live your life, enjoy, love, and laugh, but be mindful. Last week, he was walking down the street with his friend. He had a stick formed as a gun. When I tell you, I got into my son's
Oh,
behind.
come on
We
now.
had a strong conversation. Don't you ever in your life do that again. And he understood that. He was like, Dad, I wasn't thinking. You not thinking for 5 seconds can take you from me. I can't handle that. I couldn't handle that. So you have to listen to me. You have to move slow and think. And it's sad that a 14-year-old boy has to have to have the mind capacity for a 33-year-old man to understand what I'm doing. It's not. It's sad, man. It's sad.
It is.
And
It is.
it's one of those things I just can't. It's tough right now. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up. But
Thank you, Dante. Thank you, brother. I mean, like, look, you got me over here. My heart's racing.
I'm
You
about to say
know,
I'm mad
just
right now. Just
look. I'm like, geez, man.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
Keep
just
my
tough,
composure.
man.
I had
Jonathan, let me hear from you, brother.
so I had an editor. She was my first Black editor I ever had out of all the mainstream papers I worked at. She was the first Black editor I ever had, and she was woke, as you would say. And she used to tell me all the time. She would say, "Johnathan, channel your anger," and I would use that to articulate what I wanted to say. And with COVID, I've had a chance to really share things about my own experiences growing up in South Central Los Angeles. A lot of my friends, the stage of life that I'm in now, they probably thought I grew up a certain level of comfort, but not the case. I think my experiences with the police in LA, I was finally able to unburden those experiences and share them through my blog. At least one of them, to show, to articulate this idea that when we are pulled over by police, viewed by law enforcement as a threat, we are not viewed as human. There was an unofficial acronym that the LAPD used to use in the 90s, and may still use it. We don't quite know, but this came out after the Rodney King verdict and the subsequent uprising in LA in '92, which I also lived through that. But what came up in the investigation into the police department was that they would use this term called NHI, no humans involved, to classify their response to cases involving African Americans. They also used it for prostitutes and for, substance users and all that. But the idea that there are no humans involved orders your thinking about how you will respond to the people when you show up on the scene. And
Hold up,
so,
Jonathan. Hold up. Let me interrupt you. Hold on 1 second.
mhm,
Are you telling me that was their code
yes,
to basically say there's some black folks running around? That's the problem.
yes. And this has been well documented. So I'm not making this up. This came out during the investigation into the culture of the police department after the LA uprising. Some people say riots. I call it an uprising. And that term was then dissected by a lot of academics, because there's a lot of people that study these things. And one of them was a woman named Sylvia Winter, who wrote a letter to her colleagues called "No Humans Involved," an open letter to my colleagues. And what she did was she challenged academia to marry their thought to the plight of the poor and marginalized. That is not enough to study problems. We have to create new knowledge that is training the next generation of people. So it's not like these people are not educated, right? You have the quote unquote best and the brightest people that are running institutions, running, companies, but they have been ingrained with knowledge or been taught with knowledge that is tainted with all of these stereotypes that dehumanize people. And so I don't even think they think about it, right? I don't think there's no awareness that the way that they've been socialized to view the world leaves some people out. There are some people in our society that are not counted as human. So when I look at the George Floyd situation, what I see is so many things coming together. This was a man who lost his job because of the coronavirus pandemic. It's been reported that he actually was recovering from COVID. It's been reported that he allegedly had a counterfeit $20 bill. If you think about the economic lynching that happened before he even was physically lynched, that's a structural problem. that means that there are things in our society that have been going on for generational. It's not just systemic, it's generational dehumanization and marginalization that has caused people to be in these situations where they are considered disposable. That is a fundamental flaw in our society. And the thing about it for me, the reason I got all worked up about it was what COVID did was let us know that we're not just suffering from the pandemic of coronavirus, but globally, we are suffering from the pandemic of racism. You have people in other countries, France, Australia, you name it. They were responding to racism in their country in solidarity to what's happening in the US. The Aboriginal people in Australia. There was the North African French people in France. I mean, this is a global thing. And I think it exposed the universal suffering. When Nickelodeon, the children's TV show, goes off air for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, which was the amount of time that officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck, and in support of Black Lives Matter movement, you know it's serious. Nickelodeon, like, this is real. Even the Pope.
That's real. That's money time right there. That is straight money.
Caused the Pope to say something at the Vatican about the need to turn away from racism and from exclusion in any form. That is epic. And I only hope that we can sustain it. I don't know if this will, it feels different. I don't know if we'll be able to sustain this or not. I'll shut up.
Let me hear from James Lopez. Nah, man, I'm feeling you got my heart beating, man. Like, I can't take this. This is too much. Man, Mr. Lopez, let me hear you.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what he said and what everybody else said, which is with social media now, like, because we're all home due to COVID, there's no distractions, right? Where now you actually see the problem. And when one of your friends tells you, hey, tell me why they're fighting, I still don't see it. Now you could actually look at them and call bullshit. What else are you doing? You're not going to the beach. You're not going to the mall. So what else? What is it that's out there that you don't see? It just doesn't make sense.
Now we know you just don't care. That's what it is.
It's just full of it. It's just full of it. Right? But that also in turns makes me want to teach my son more. Where it's like, yo, let's show you social media, because social media is going to show you the positives and the negatives of the movement, right? But you won't know it until dad actually sits with you and tells you these are the pluses and the minuses. And then now let's take it a step further. You see everybody protesting. Why don't I take you to a protest? But like that, you could actually feel the energy and see why we're actually doing this. So now when your friend tells you, I don't get it, now you could tell them, well, you don't get it because you might be a good person that can't fathom the fact that somebody would look at us like this. Or you might be the sucker that just doesn't see it.
Have you guys been approached by like white people or messaged by white people or something, and they give you some kind of heartwarming message? Have you guys experienced that?
Come on, man, that's every day, man.
Anybody who would done something like that, I got rid of them years ago.
It's like we're the coolest people in the room. No, this didn't make us the coolest people in the room. We were already the coolest people in the room. Like, what's be high now?
It's two things that I heard in the last 2 weeks.
All right, I'm gonna let James Jones close this out.
Oh no, Donte got something to share.
It's two things that I can't stand to hear when I come near my white counterpart. One, I don't see color, and other one is I have a black friend. I tell them all the time, it's okay to see color. When I walked into P&G boardroom, my Pampers there I was the only black guy, and everybody around me is white. It's okay to see color. It's what's in your heart when it goes forward. You know what I mean? And when I don't see color, or I have a black friend, that's two signs let me know, bro, you just don't understand. You may be low-key racist. And I think that's the worst thing. I put a status up the other day. I think that's scarier. What's more scary than the racist is a person who doesn't know they're racist. That's scary to me because you don't know it. So I can't.
But I like that. We need to hashtag low-key racist right there.
Low-key racist. Low-key, not all the way.
How do you know you got a black friend if you don't see color?
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't see color, and I got a black friend.
I got a black friend though.
Put up
Right.
those wedding photos, man. Put up those wedding photos, those first birthdays. Let's see what you got in
I
Hey
think
JJ, I'm stealing that one. I'm stealing that one.
oh man, I was
Somebody was
asking
trying to
because
talk. Who was that?
I was asking because I've gotten some messages from people and they say, oh, sorry about all of this that's going on, and maybe the optimist in me is trying to see the very best in that, and I almost think that it's kind of weird because this is exactly what we want, right? We want this realization to this. We want them to be like, okay, I know all of this stuff is messed up, but then when it's actually manifesting now and it's actually coming into fruition and people are saying things like, oh, I'm sorry about everything that's happening. Now I'm looking like, oh, it sounds a little weird. I mean, I always thought about that in my head, but it sounds a little weird you saying it now. And I don't know if you're saying it because it's a fad right now. I don't know if you're saying it because you really mean it, but the optimist in me wants to say, okay, they don't know that that's not helpful. They don't know that yet. And why? Because they think that this just happened a couple weeks ago. They don't know that this has been happening for a long time. And you and I are desensitized to seeing this stuff, as crazy as it is. This is their first time. So to me, I almost feel like there needs to be a little bit of give there because they need to catch up. They need to get educated. The stuff that happened 2 years ago to us is it just happened. To them, it's history, and they have to learn about it. They have to develop an interest in it. And they have to develop, understanding the things to say. So in 3 years from now, when they go back and look at a message and they say, man, I really asked this dude, how are you feeling about this George Floyd murder? It's going to sound stupid to them because they're more mature 3 years in. If they're really dedicated to understanding what's going on and trying to really, make a change, they'll look back at that message in 3 years and they'll see, man, that was really stupid. I shouldn't have said that. So I just had interesting mixed feelings about that situation.
How can we help?
Yeah, how can we help?
Make me some cookies or something.
Go ahead.
You got me that.
Yeah.
You want me to say?
I was gonna say, like, coming from the tech scene, one of my friends put out a tweet the other day, and basically what she said was, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon of not trying to be down, but trying to be helpful and ask us questions, right? And she wrote a simple tweet, make the hire and something about like make the wire. And for us in tech, it's like, yo, instead of you trying to like ask me how I'm doing since you never reached out to me before, why don't you just wire me the funds that I need to build my business?
He's like, cut the check.
Yeah, cut the check. Like, stop asking me questions. Cut the check.
Cut the check.
That's the way I look at it now. Where it's like, D'Anthony knows, Donte knows. I turn brands down all the time, and I turn them down because I don't see them fighting the good fight all the time.
And I turn them down because he turned them down.
Yeah. So when they come to me and tell me, yo, we want to talk about this right now, I flip it on them and tell them I don't want to talk about this no more. We've been talking about this all our lives. So if you want to pay me for that, I'm cool. I'll keep on my platform. So thank you, D'Anthony. Thank you, Donte, for backing me every time. I know I start short.
That's what's up. Hey, gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much for tonight. This has been amazing. Thank you very much for your opinions, your thoughts, your insight. We're going to be doing this again really soon. Matt and Kelly and I have been talking about doing more of these because I'm tired of the conversation. I'm really, really tired of the conversation. Now I want to see what's the action. I'm tired of talking about it. And somebody said it earlier, like we've been dealing with this for so long, like we're desensitized to it, where as some folks, white folks, are like, oh, is this really going on? Well, yes, this is really going on. Now I want to be, when did this happen? How long you have? Let's talk about it. I don't want to talk no more. I want action.
Right.
I want policy change now. Impact. I want to make a change. Like I'm all for the protest. So the protest is bringing awareness. Now I need to be part of that. Where's the policy change? Where are my elected officials, or who do I need to get elected?
Right.
And that's one of the next things we want to make sure we kind of focus on the next show, just because we can't stop here. We have way more to talk about. I want to thank each and every one of you for your time, your effort, your insight. I said that again because coming from you gentlemen, this is insight,
Mhm.
and it helps. And for someone who's on the fence, for my white folks that will watch this eventually, we're talking to you. We're trying to give you something. Some of the things that Dante said, we get angry. We have to hold it
Mm-hmm.
in.
Right.
I can't come out here talking about I got a 22 in my pocket and I'm mad
Right.
because they calling the cops on us.
Right.
Mhm.
I,
Yeah.
so thank you, John. Again, I think we have Matt and Kelly want to say thank you also for our listeners. James, representing the Black Fathers Group, why don't you say something? Close us out.
You know what?
James
Again,
Jones.
I'm so glad to be on here, to have had this opportunity to speak with you guys, and hopefully we can move forward in a positive way, and hope that the time that COVID has given everyone to stop and look up and say, "Oh my God, like there was a whole world out there that I didn't know about." Either because I was oblivious and didn't pay attention, or because my circle that I follow on Facebook or Twitter, my feed doesn't include when someone gets killed, doesn't include racism, doesn't include any of those things. And hopefully, we can move forward with people truly recognizing the realities of what's going on in the world, not only just for what's going on with black people in general and racism and police brutality, but also all the positive things that we show through the blogs and the IG and the groups and everything else. That there's so much positivity that we have out there that everyone needs to see and everyone needs to be aware of. And hopefully, as we move forward, that people will keep the energy that they have now and apply that positivity to it and take us in a direction where black folks have been hoping to go for about 450 years now.
About
Right.
450 years. 400
Roughly.
years. Yeah, about 400 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
right.
said roughly.
Yeah. Check your time. Check your time.
Yeah. Well, and while you take your
Hey,
time,
thanks again,
remember to check.
guys. We appreciate you. And
Well, I was gonna say, remember that we're all very quick to like check people online and strangers. Remember to check your homies too. All right,
No, absolutely.
that goes both ways, the bad way and the good way. Check up on your friends.
yeah,
Facts. Facts.
Right.
yeah, because I'm sorry, because that's another show talking about the folks that have different opinions, that are our folks who don't understand. So that's
Mhm.
another show, though. We won't get it.
Got it. Let's
Hey,
get it.
hey, thanks again, guys. We're gonna close it out.
Right.
Thank you for coming in and listening to Digital Dads. Thank you to my panel. Thank you for just everything you do and the influence you have out there. We'll talk to you soon.
Great.
Thank you guys,
Thank you.
All
Take
right,
care.
guys.
fellas.
Okay.